recording? Hey!
Okay, Yagoyalev, this is Kathy Jetnil-Kijiner from the Marshall Islands. She's going to be talking to us about Anointed, her new poem. And I'm Tamara from the Marshall Islands Consulate. Thank you, Tate, for this exclusive interview with us.
You're welcome. I have a special place in my heart for the consulate.
Thank you. You should. So we're gonna do this kind of
talk story,
and it's gonna be really informal. But I do have a few questions that I jotted down about the poem. So I guess before, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the video, and also how this idea came to you.
Okay. So the poem video was just released today. In fact, just like a few hours ago, I think around 12. And it's been released on my Facebook page. The poem video is about the Runit nuclear waste site located in Anointed. And this was kind of an idea that's been in the works for like 3 or 4 years. Like back when I was teaching at CMI at College of the Marshall Islands, that's when I first had the idea, because I was teaching about the section of nuclear legacies. I noticed that a lot of people didn't seem to really know about the dome, or like it wasn't really registered. There's so many really horrible facets to the nuclear legacy, and the dome just sort of slips over people's mind that it actually exists, and it's right there, and it's this huge, massive waste site. So I wanted to go to the dome and actually perform a video from the dome. And so I told Dan Lin. So Dan Lin is the photographer, and he's the filmmaker behind all of the visuals, the really gorgeous visuals. And he works with PREL, Pacific Resources for Education and Learning, which is a nonprofit here in Hawaii. And they, so basically he was able to get some funding through PREL and through University of Edinburgh, and some private donors, and we were able to create this video. And so initially we were supposed to just kind of fly in and do the poem video, but then we ended up working with the Okeanos Foundation so that it was a whole voyage all the way out there. So the poem video is all about like this kind of mourning. I see it as like a mourning ritual. Like I'm mourning this island that was once an island and now is just a nuclear waste site. And yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. So when you say, people don't know, is it people in Medjero and people, outside of Medjero?
Good point. So mostly I'm talking about people outside of Medjero, right? But I did notice that there were a few students who didn't know that actually it existed too.
I don't think I really learned about this that much when I was a student going to school in Medjero. I think I might have had like one project, but we didn't really go into detail, and I don't think it's something that's discussed enough in our schools. So I can see why some of your students didn't know about it.
I mean, I think it's not like I'm not saying like the teachers aren't doing their jobs and they're not teaching it. I think it's just like it's I don't know, because it's so far away, right? And it would you have to like it costs so much just to fly out there. Nobody really talks about it. I don't know. Maybe it's just this like thing that people don't want to talk about too.
And when you went to anywhere, what did people say about it?
So like some of the acting mayor actually said that, he actually told me that apparently there was most of the ladies there, like, so they had like a dinner for us at one point to like thank us, and it was organized by the DUD ladies.
Okay.
So the women, he told me that most of the women I was shaking hands with and talking story with, most of them have never set foot on it because they're afraid of it. But then at the same time, there was this kid who came. I say kid, but he was actually like a senior, I think. There was a young man who came with us on the canoe, and while I was shooting on top of the dome, he was going to the crater behind me and fishing, and he brought back fish to his island. And I probably ate it. So it was a whole bunch of fish. Like, he was obviously a really skilled fisherman, but also just like he had no qualms about diving into that water. And they're saying that's out of all the nuclear waste sites, like Runit was definitely more radiated. Yeah.
So why do you think he didn't worry about jumping in there and getting the fish and possibly eating it after?
I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. Like, apparently, like, it won't join, like, you know, there's, like, a taboo about going there. Like, technically, you're not supposed to go there. But there's no one really going to stop you. There's no fence, you know, there's no... And the people apparently go there and picnic. Like, the girl I told you about, she went with her family to picnic there, apparently, and just check it out. And then there was this really weird practice that we've heard about with people digging the copper from beneath the dome and then selling it for money to one of the businessmen on the island. Yeah, and that's definitely contaminated.
So what does he do with the copper?
He ships it to China.
And what do they do with it?
I have no idea. So it's kind of weird. Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be interesting to follow up on.
Yeah, so there was actually, there was like a series about the dome from Colleen, from Hendrik. I mean, I don't know if you know them, those three journalists who were younger.
Right.
Yeah. So they did a really good expose on it, and they went a little bit more into detail about that copper.
Oh, okay.
You know, about that. So they might know a little bit more, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's kind of messy. It's not sure what to, yeah.
So to put it into perspective, because I'm trying to visualize where Ruined is, or the dome is, compared to what the island that the folks in, where do they live? Is it like kind of like Anointed to Mexico?
Yeah,
or
it
something?
is. So it's like farther away than Anointed. So it's about like, I think it was like, well, we thought it would be an hour, but we got there really quickly. So it was less than an hour, just to sail out there. So if you've seen the video, it says 15 miles downwind from Ruined. So it's pretty close. It's right. So yeah, that's actually a pretty good visual. It's just like being on Megiddo, and then there's this huge dome site that's like on Anointed.
Can you see it from where?
Okay, no, you can't see it. So it's probably farther.
Or maybe it's like, kind of like behind it or something.
Well, anyway, that's like a really big. It's a huge, atoll site. I didn't even realize that. So.
So is there any kind of testing that the people have to go through every so often?
So there is like this white DOE place, and I think maybe, I'm not sure, I don't think they get tested.
Food,
no, I don't. I'm not sure that there is. Yeah, that wasn't really. I'm not entirely sure.
I know
about it. They didn't indicate anything about that. So.
And then at the at your release yesterday, you were saying that the mayor wanted you to follow up on why Tobola won't take the copra from Anointed, but they're allowed to eat there.
So that was his big concern. So he wrote it down on this like piece of note, this like paper that I actually think I might have, and Oh, do we? Okay.
Oh, go ahead and look. I'm just checking out people's comments and things.
Okay. If they have any questions and stuff like that. Oh, it's not in here. I must have taken it out.
Ya voy, Auntie Amanda.
Ya voy, Auntie Amanda. It's not in here. But there was this note that he wrote me. And it's probably in at home. But it's like a list of all the names of the atolls that are contaminated. The islands that are contaminated, and then also like that question, which is basically, why is it that Tobola will not take any of our copra? And so I asked him to clarify, like, why is this important to you? Like, because, you need this source of income, or is it because maybe people have decided that, you guys are getting funding from the government, so maybe you don't need the source of income or something like that. And he was saying, no, like he was clarifying to say, his issue with that is that why is it that we can live here but that they won't take our copra? Like, why is it that we can eat this but that you won't take it?
I would
What's
be
wrong
concerned
with that?
too.
Yeah, so that's definitely an interesting question, and I haven't really been able to pose it to anybody yet. So yeah. Hopefully
we're able to find out the answer to that question sometime soon, or that he's able to find out.
Yeah. So there's definitely some loose ends with the project, but yeah, that's one of them.
And so, going there, I don't know, I myself would be scared that I would,
get sick.
Yeah. And did you have any kind of concerns,
I mean, I had to think before, like, because in the video you see I'm barefoot, and I'm barefoot walking all the way to the dome.
Yeah.
So I was, like, thinking about it. Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was weirded out. I don't know. Like, I thought about it before. Like, okay, like, another question, like, like Eline has asked, like, our cousin Eline, she's asked, like, she told me about how her and, some people went to Eniwetok, and the question that was asked amongst them was, are we going to eat the food from Eniwetok? And if I made my decision before I went. I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to eat the food. Like, that's such, like, bad hospitality to, to turn it down. And so I ate the nana, so I was like, no, it's okay. So I went and I ate the food, and of course, and then, I don't know, I guess I just felt like it looked better for the video, and it wasn't just for the video, obviously, but I was also like, I don't know, so much of Marshall Islands is contaminated already, like,
good point.
And I had to go through the water. There's no way to avoid the water to get onto the dome.
That's scary.
Yeah, and so I was just like, I don't know,
so what was it like,
being on the dome? Being
like this, sailing in and seeing it there. And
like I was saying yesterday, it was like meeting a person. It was so weird. Because, in the poem, I'm like, I'm coming to meet you. I'm coming to see you, right? So it's like, so I wrote that poem about a month before we left. And, well, no, like less than a month. It was like 2 weeks before we left. So it was like all this anticipation, all this planning, all this envisioning of this island as this person. And it was like, yeah, I was nervous, which was weird because I wasn't performing in front of anybody. Nobody was going to see my performance except Dan, because he was the one filming. But I was really nervous, I guess, because I was like meeting somebody, like all this anticipation.
And so when you finally got there,
I was really sad. I mean, it's horrible, and I had this moment by myself up there while Dan was like setting up the equipment, and I was just looking out, like, it's so beautiful, the rest of the water, but you can see the crater, like, it's massive, and it was really sad to see, like, how damaged it is,
That must have been intense.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. I mean, it's one thing to see the photos, but to be there, like,
I know.
It's so big, so...
Yeah, from the video you can see, you're just this tiny little person on this really massive dome containing all that contaminated soil.
I know, yeah, it was intense, yeah. So it was definitely like, I look at it, I explained it like, it was kind of like a ritual, almost. It was ritualistic for me to like come with the white stones and stuff like that, like the Arab.
Yeah, can you speak more about that?
Yeah, so... throughout the video, I'm collecting white stones, and I'm talking about there will be no white stones to scatter around this grave. That's this thing, right? So I decided to incorporate, and I'm wearing black too. Like, the idea is that I am mourning this dome, this island, not the dome, because I felt like a lot of articles that have been written about the Runit Dome have focused on the nuclear waste site, but they never talk about what was there before. What was this island for before? And so when I spoke with Joan, like, Rieniwedak in Oregon, and her name is Tine Tilium, and so she was able to share with me the stories that her mother shared with her, and the idea, and apparently she told me that island used to be called like a pantry for the chiefs, that they would go there for food. Yeah, so anybody could go, like, whenever they ran low, they would go there for food. I found out later that it was also really rich for getting turtles for food, fish and turtles, mostly marine life. And so that's why I have a line about watermelons, like, because she was saying there was like watermelon there. There was like,
I thought that was kind of weird. And like,
I know,
watermelon.
That's what I said too. But that's why when she said like there's watermelon, when she was like, I'm like watermelon, and I was like, watermelon.
I know.
That's why I have that line, because I was like, that's interesting.
I know.
And then I also asked her, like, is there any legends that you know of about Eniwetok that you can share with me? So there was no legends about Runit specifically. But the legend she shared with me that she said was her favorite was one about these two chiefly women who swim from these two islands, like the one on all the way on the other side and one on the other side.
Okay.
And they swam to each other while they were pregnant, and they would swim to each other, and one would say, and the first thing they said was like, they were both pregnant, so they said, if I have a daughter and you have a daughter, they'll be sisters. And then they swam apart. And the third time they swam apart and met again, and they said, if I have a son and you have a son, they will be enemies. And they swam apart again. Then they swam together again, and they said, if I have a daughter and you have a son, they will marry. And so they did marry. So they had a son and a daughter, and they married, and that brought together the island of Eniwetok, all the different islands. So apparently those were two warring ends of Eniwetok. So they brought these two, people together. And so the woman Thine explained to me that she just loves it because this like concept of these women bringing together the island, and these really powerful women. And apparently the place where they met was this really far off location, and she told me to look for it when I got there. is this really far off location. So it's like to imagine a like pregnant woman swimming that far off, where you can't even see the stone, is like crazy. So that's why I have a line called, women who birth chiefs, like, women who can swim pregnant for miles beneath the full moon. That's what that's referencing. So anyways, I'm trying to basically, like mourn the land before not just be angry about the dome. And so when I'm thinking about mourning, I think about the Marshallese, our rituals, for funerals, which I'm still learning a lot about. And my, the one aspect that I've always found really beautiful is our era, when we scatter the white stones. And so that's what I was doing. So I actually picked up stones on Iniwedak and got someone to weave a basket. And so I carried the basket there, and there's that whole placing the stones on top of the dome. And so that's the concept, yeah.
So, so traditionally, Yenearek, the two sides, the families or whoever they're having disagreements with, they come to the Yarek and they basically forgive each other if they choose to.
Okay.
Is that kind of
like it's cleansing, right?
Yeah, cleansing and like kind of symbolic. Like, would you say you're kind of like in a way forgiving?
No, I don't know if I'm forgiving, but I guess I am kind of cleansing.
Or working towards healing.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to work towards healing. I'm aiming towards healing that land, in a sense, which obviously I don't have the power to do. I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying, like, I guess in a sense it was almost like a healing ceremony for me as someone who's been investigating this and cultivating a personal relationship with that land, even though but I found out we do have relatives there.
Oh.
Yeah. So that woman, Tine Jidium, is actually related to Bulukabe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. So it's not like exactly we're Rieniwela, but we're related. We have relatives in Rieniwela. Yeah.
I'm interested to know, like, the youth in Eniwedak, learning about this and seeing it firsthand. Like, what is their attitude towards, like, military or the U.S. or actions that are happening around
that kind of stuff. I didn't really get to talk to that many youth, like, besides the ones that I wrote the poetry workshops with, and obviously they had things that they preferred to be working through. Like they were working through. You saw the poems, so for those who didn't see them, a lot of the anyway, like students were writing about personal family issues, and trying to understand relationships in their families and also deaths of their families. So that's something that stood out a lot, is there was a lot of deaths that students were working through. There didn't seem to be much like directed anger towards the U.S., but there was this definite consciousness of the U.S. did this to us, and then now this is our life, And I think they have, I didn't get to talk to enough people, so I can't really say how angry people are. But there wasn't this palpable anger from the few conversations I did have.
And the deaths that happened in Eniwedak, are they related to like nuclear?
Some of it might be. I mean, some of it might just be like poor. They don't have a full-on hospital. They have a clinic. And I think that's something that I've thought about a lot. Is like, if we were like, if people really like some people have asked me like, what can the U.S. do to really fix this as a problem? And sometimes I'm like, there's nothing they can do. But then another thing I can say is like, they should have given us proper hospital. They should have. That's one thing. That's like a bottom line. We should be able to get cancer treatment and proper like medical care in all of our islands, especially the 4 atolls, without people having to leave. Like that's something they should have taken care of. They shouldn't have just been like, all right, figure out how to do a hospital. Like we don't know how to do that. So I think that's one of the causes, is that not having that proper hospital health care out all the way out in Eniwedak. So I'm not sure how much of it was really related to the nuclear. So.
Okay. Well, let me see if we have any questions.
I know. If you guys have any questions, message in. I think they're watching from Minnesota. Cool. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, there's no questions so far.
Okay, that's good. Because I wanted to ask you about So, these workshops that you did with the students, you did something similar in Hawaii.
I did.
A couple years ago at Marshallese Education Day.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. So these workshops are all about like getting students to just write in the moment and getting them to write about whatever it is that they're processing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like to have them have like a finished piece. It's just to show them that if you dive in and just write, something really interesting can come about. And usually we have a lot of discussion and then we'll write. So that was at the last Marshallese Education Day, which was an awesome experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that you're having another Marshallese Education
Well,
Day.
yes, we are. Marshallese Education Day Committee is hosting the 11th annual Marshallese Education Day here in Honolulu next Saturday, April 21st, and we're really looking forward to having all our students there. This year we have six 4.0 students.
Wow.
Which is kind of big for us. We haven't had that many in a while.
And where is it going to be?
So it's going to be at the Harris United Methodist Church.
Okay.
It's down the street across from Safeway on Papali.
Yeah.
So it's really close by. There's plenty of parking. We're going to have food and lunch. And so many service providers who are going to be present to help the families in our community with questions regarding health, education, what else? Health, education, job placements, I-94, EAD cards, if anybody's needing that kind of service.
Is there going to be stuff just for the students too, or?
Yeah, so you know how you did your
workshop?
This year, the students are going to be doing a workshop with FACE, which stands for Faith Action Community Coalition. Something else. Anyway, I didn't memorize the acronym or the.
But what do they do?
So they're going to be kind of teaching the students about social justice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because that's what FACE does. They recognize a need in the community, an issue, and then they try to organize around that. They organize the faith-based community, basically.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the students in our community should get more involved in Hawaii
social justice
issues.
There's a lot that they could do, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And they all affect us. If we're not going to do anything, it's going to be kind of hard to change it after the fact.
True. So that's on April
21st. Yeah, so it's going to be in the morning.
Okay.
So I know you Farrington students, you have prom that night, but it's in the morning. It's from 8 to 3, so you guys can leave, around 12, grab your lunch and go home and get ready for prom.
Oh, yay, prom.
I know.
I know. Timas, you did prom?
We didn't do prom.
Oh, I did. It was really embarrassing. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it then, huh?
Yeah, I think so. But, thank you so much for having this exclusive interview with us.
You're so welcome.
Well, right. Thank you everybody for watching. If you have any other questions, you can just email us and then...
You can comment maybe on the bottom and
then
we'll both look at it and respond if anything. Yeah.
Okay, any last words?
Nothing.
Nothing inspiring?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.